Like and subscribe to Desi Engine. Click the bell button to receive the latest video.
Hello friends, today we are going to learn what a sentence is. Let me tell you what the definition of a sentence is. Sentence is the basic grammatical unit and it contains a group of words and expresses a complete thought. What this means is sentence has a complete meaning of its own. Let me give you a few examples. Atul writes good poems. So, this sentence makes complete sense on its own. It does not require any additional support to make sense. Let me give you another example. The girl is learning how to drive. So, this sentence also makes complete sense because it talks about the girl who is learning to drive. Now, let's talk about how the sentence is divided. The sentence is basically divided into two parts, a subject and a predicate. Subject is who or what this sentence is about, and a predicate tells about the subject. For example, in this sentence, Atul writes good poems. Atul is a subject because the sentence is about Atul. And the predicate is writes good poems because this talks about the subject. What does it tell us about the subject? That Atul writes good poems. Let's do another sentence. The girl is learning how to drive. Our subject is the girl and is learning how to drive is a predicate because the predicate talks about the subject, that it gives additional information about the subject, that the subject is learning how to drive. So today we learnt about what a sentence is and how it is divided into two parts, that is the subject and the predicate. Hello friends, today we are going to learn different kind of sentences. Sentences can basically be divided into four kinds: declarative sentence, imperative sentence, interrogative sentence, and the last one is exclamatory sentence. Let's learn few examples of each kind of sentence, then you'll be able to differentiate between them. Imperative sentence. Imperative sentence basically means a statement or a fact or a kind of assertion that you make. For example, the sun rises in the east. This is a fact, a universal fact, or the sun rises in the west. The second statement is applicants will be answered in due time. This is a statement, an outright declaration. So let's now come to imperative sentence. This is basically a request or a command that you make. Show me your photo album, please. This is an example of a request. Get out. This is an outright command. Interrogative sentence. Interrogative sentences are basically questions that you ask, like, do you like this photo? Or what is your name? There is a simple tip over here. Interrogative sentences usually end with question marks. Let's do exclamatory sentences now. Exclamatory sentences are basically sentences that show a feeling of surprise or very strong feelings. That is, what a beautiful dress she is wearing. It's surprise. How lovely she looks. It's a strong feeling. So these are examples of different kinds of sentences that we learned today. Hello friends, today we are going to learn about what a clause is. Let me tell you the definition of a clause. A clause is a group of words that consists of a subject and a predicate. The subject and a predicate is the main feature of a clause. It can basically be divided into two types. Independent clause, which is also known as the main clause. Dependent clause, which is also known as the subordinate clause. Independent clause is like a sentence. It has a subject and a predicate and can stand alone like a sentence. For example, she died last week. This clause makes complete sense on its own. Let me give you another example. He likes her. This is an independent clause which makes complete sense. That is, he likes her. Let's do dependent clause now. The definition of a dependent clause is, it has a subject and a verb, but unlike an independent clause, it cannot stand alone as a sentence. That is, it does not have a complete meaning of its own. For example, let's take a look, cut few sentences. Because I like to play. Had this sentence been, I like to play, this would have made complete sense. But when I say, because I like to play, there is something missing in the sentence. It's incomplete. Let's do another one. That you lent me. It does not talk about what you lent me. It just says that you lent me. So it has incomplete meaning. So we did the different kind of clauses today. Meet you again in the next class. Hello friends. In our previous class, we learnt about the different kind of clauses. That is, clauses divided into two types, dependent clause and independent clause. Today we'll learn about the different kinds of dependent clauses. Dependent clause can be divided into three kinds. That is, relative clause, noun clause, and adverbial clause. Let's start with relative clause, which is also known as the adjective clause. The main function of an adjective clause is to modify the noun, that is, to give additional information about the noun. So, it modifies a noun and usually begins with a relative pronoun, that is, which, that, who, whom, whose, and a relative adverb, where, when, why. Let's take a look at few examples. Students who work hard get good grades. Here the noun is students and the underlined portion, who work hard, modifies the noun. So this becomes our adjective clause. Let's take another example. The book which you lent me is very interesting. In this, the book is a noun and the statement which you lent me modifies the noun. So this becomes our adjective clause. So let's do now noun clause, which is also known as the nominal clause. As the name suggests, the noun clause basically functions as a noun in the sentence. It can act as a subject, object, or the complement in a sentence. For example, what you have done pleased so many fans. What you have done is the subject of the sentence. So this is our noun clause. Let's take another example. I think that he is the best match for her. In this sentence, that he is the best match for her acts as an object. Let's do the adverb clause now. Adverb clause is a category of subordinate clause which basically functions as an adverb. The clause can modify verbs, adverbs, and adjectives by telling us additional information about when, where, why, how much, and under what condition the verbs, adverbs, and adjectives are modified. They usually begin with a subordinating conjunction. For example, if, because, although. Let's take a look at few examples. If you pay your bills, you will have a good credit score. In this sentence, if you pay your bills is our adverb clause. Let's come to the next sentence. Although she has a business degree, she is working as a clerk. In this sentence, although she has a business degree is our adverb clause. So today we learnt about the different kind of subordinate clauses. So meet you again in the next class. Hello friends. Today we'll learn about the different kinds of adjective clauses. Adjective clause can basically be divided into two categories. That is restrictive, which is also known as the defining clause, or non-restrictive, which is also known as the non-defining clause. Restrictive clause. Basically, it gives essential information about the noun, and the clause does not require commas. Let's take example. The man who is standing there is a secret agent. Here, the statement who is standing there modifies the noun the man. In another sentence, the writer who won the Nobel Prize is from Colombia. In this sentence, who won the Nobel Prize is the restrictive clause which modifies the noun the writer. Let's do the non-restrictive or non-defining clause now. Non-restrictive clauses give non-essential information about the noun. They do not give any substantial information. And these clauses require commas, that is, they are separated by commas. Let's take a few examples. Fast food, which most people have, is not healthy at all. In this sentence, fast food is a noun, which most people have is a non-restrictive clause, and this does not give any additional information about the fast food. The sentence would be complete even without this clause. So, fast food, comma, which most people have, comma, is not healthy at all. Next sentence. My uncle, who is a farmer, lives in the countryside. Here, the noun is uncle, who is a farmer, is in the non-restrictive clause, and it does not give any extra information about the noun. It's just non-essential information. Lives in the countryside. So today we did the different kinds of adjective clauses. Meet you again in the next class. Hello friends. Today we are going to learn the different kinds of adverbial clauses. Let's do the first one. Adverb clause of place. Basically, this clause answers the question where. Like in this sentence, he thinks he'll be happy where he has recently moved. Where he has recently moved is our adverb clause of place, and this answers to the question where he will be happy, where he has recently moved. Let's come to adverb clause of time. This basically answers the question when. He wrote the book when he was 25. When did he write the book? When he was 25. So, when he was 25 is our adverb clause of time. Let's do adverb clause of manner now. Adverb clause of manner tells us how something happens. Like the kids cleaned the room as he wanted. How did the kids clean the room? As he wanted. So, as he wanted is our adverb clause of manner. Let's do the next kind of adverbial clause, that is adverb clause of reason. Adverb clause of reason answers to the question why, and it also indicates why the particular action of the verb had taken place. For example, in this sentence, I forgave him because I liked him. The reason why I forgave him is because I liked him. So, because I liked him is our adverbial clause of reason. Next is the adverb clause of purpose. As the name suggests, it indicates a purpose which the verb may address. For example, they bought a piece of land so that they can build a bigger house. Why did they buy a piece of land? So that they can build a bigger house. So, the underlined portion is our adverb clause of purpose. Next is the adverb clause of concession. It basically starts with although, even though. For example, in this sentence, although he is very old, he runs fast. Although he is very old is our adverb clause of concession. And in this kind of adverbial clause, the meaning of the clause is opposite to the main part of the sentence. That is, here, he is very old any person who is old wouldn't run fast. But in the sentence, it is, although he is very old, he runs fast. So, he is old, and the concept of being old is basically associated with slow. But in this statement, he is very old, but he runs fast. So, let's do the next kind of adverbial clause. That is the adverbial clause of condition. Let's take an example. If I had a lot of money, I would travel around the world. In this sentence, our main clause is I would travel around the world. This answers to the condition if I had lot of money. What this means is the main clause will occur under the condition of if I had lot of money. Let's do the next kind of adverbial clause, that is the adverbial clause of comparison. The words that denote comparison are as, than, etc. Let's take an example. He can run as fast as a world champion. As the name suggests, adverbial clause of comparison, we are making a comparison over here. Let's do another example. She is older than her husband. Here also we are making a comparison. Than her husband is an adverbial clause of comparison. So we learned the different kinds of adverbial clauses. Meet you again in the next class. Hello friends. Today we are going to learn about parts of a speech. Each sentence is made up of different kind of elements and it can be categorized into 8 types. That is noun, verb, pronoun, adjective, adverb, conjunction, preposition and interjection. So we'll learn about these 8 kinds of parts of speech. Let's start with noun. What is a noun? Noun is the name of a person, place, thing or idea. Few examples of person are Atul, Joseph, boy, teacher, etc. Few examples of places are USA, India, school, bathroom, etc. And few examples of things are pen, car, moon, toilet, etc. And finally, few examples of ideas are happiness, fear, liberty, bravery, etc. Let's do few sentences where you can identify the nouns. So the first sentence is, the cat is tired. In this sentence, our noun is the cat. In the next sentence, the sun sets in the west. Our noun is the sun. And another sentence, India is a beautiful country. In this sentence, our noun is India. So, let's do verbs now. What is a verb? A verb is any word that expresses action or a state of being. Let me give you few examples of action words. Run, kick, jump, fly, swim, etc. These are words that express actions. A few examples of state of being are thinking, is, am, was, were, etc. In this example, you cannot see the thinking process happening. That's why it is a state of being. You cannot see me thinking, but it is a state which exists. Let's do few examples. I walk quickly. In this sentence, a verb is walk because this expresses an action. Birds fly. What do birds do? They fly. Flying is an action. I think Puneet is a good boy. In this, thinking is a state of being. That's why this is a verb. Let's do pronouns now. What is a pronoun? A pronoun is any word that replaces a noun. For example, let me tell you a short story. If I say that Atul is a good boy, Atul lives in Bangalore, Atul works in Thomson Reuters, if I keep repeating the noun Atul, it becomes very inappropriate. And that's why we need pronouns to replace the nouns. So let me give you a few examples of pronouns. I, he, she, him, and you can take a look at the pronouns that I have listed here. Let's do sentences where we can identify the pronouns. I am 23 years old. In this, our pronoun is I. Next sentence. Ram is studying. He will sleep late at night. In this sentence, our pronoun is he because it is replacing the noun Ram. Let's do adjectives now. What is an adjective? An adjective is a word or phrase that describes a noun or a pronoun. Basically, it gives us additional information about the noun or a pronoun. Let me give you a few examples of adjectives. Slow, fast, beautiful, intelligent. You can take a look at the words that I've written on the board. When I say beautiful girl, what I'm doing is describing some additional information about the girl. That is, she is beautiful. So, beautiful becomes my adjective because it gives me additional information about my noun girl. Let's do few examples where we can identify the adjectives. First one is I am cold. Here I is my pronoun, am is my verb, and cold is my adjective because it modifies or rather gives additional information about the pronoun I. That is, I am cold. Let's do another example. They live in a beautiful house. Here, house is my noun and beautiful gives me additional information about this noun. So this becomes my adjective. Let's do another example. I met a homeless person in New York. Person is my noun here. There are other nouns as well in this sentence, but the one modified is person. So how is it modified? By giving me extra information about the person. That is, the person is homeless. So this becomes my adjective. Let's do adverbs now. What is an adverb? An adverb is a word or phrase that modifies a verb, adjective or another adverb. There is one simple tip that you can follow is that adverbs basically end in ly. For example, quickly, beautifully, lazily, extravagantly, strangely. Let's do few examples where we can identify the adverbs. I sing loudly. Here, sing is a verb and loudly is our adverb. What does loudly do to the verb? It tells us how does the person sing. How does the person sing? Loudly. So it modifies the verb. Let's do another example. The girl speaks fluently. Here, our verb is speaks. And fluently is our adverb because it gives us additional information about the verb speaks. How does the person speak? Fluently. So this becomes our adverb. Let's do another example. She waited patiently. Here, waited is our verb and patiently is our adverb because it gives us additional information about the verb waited. How did the person wait? Patiently. Let's do conjunctions now. What is a conjunction? A conjunction is a word that join words or group of words. For example, and, but, yet, either or. You can take a look at the examples that I have listed here. Let's do few sentences where we will find out the conjunctions. I like tea and coffee. Here, the word and joins two things, tea and coffee. So, and is our conjunction. Let's look at the next sentence. We can either go to the cinema or to the cafe. Here, either or are joining two options. That is the option of either going to the cinema or to the cafe. Let's do another sentence. This book is very popular even though I don't like it. Here, the word even though is joining two phrases. That is, the book is very popular and then it's giving additional information that I don't like it. So, the word even though joins these two phrases. Let's do prepositions now. What is a preposition? A preposition is a word that shows the relationship between a noun or pronoun and other words in a sentence. It is also used to show direction, location, time, or to introduce an object. Let me take the example of a box and I'll use the different kinds of prepositions along with the word the box. In the box, below the box, above the box, under the box, outside the box, and within the box. It is also used to indicate time. That is, during, while, after, at, etc. When we are making any logical statements, even then we use prepositions. Some of them are for, of, concerning, despite, etc. Let's do few sentences where we'll try to identify the prepositions. He is on the phone right now. In this sentence, our preposition is on because it shows the relationship between he and the phone. What is he doing? He is on the phone right now. Let's do another sentence. She has been on the computer since this morning. In this sentence, since is a preposition because it answers to the question, since when has she been on the computer? The answer is since this morning. It indicates time. Next sentence. My favorite movie will be on TV tonight. Here, on is a preposition because it shows the relationship between the favorite movie and TV. How? Because the favorite movie will be on TV tonight. Let's do interjections now. What are interjections? Interjection are words that are used to convey emotions through some kind of exclamation. It basically shows surprise. For example, words like oh, ouch, hooray, blah. Let's do few sentences where we'll try to identify interjections. Hello, how are you? Here, hello shows exclamation. So this is our interjection. Let's do the next sentence. Oh, the mirror. Here the exclamation word is oh. Let's do another sentence. Ouch, that must have hurt really bad. Here, ouch shows surprise. So this is our interjection. So we have learned the different kinds of parts of speech. We'll meet again in the next class. Hello friends. Today we are going to learn about different kinds of nouns. The nouns can be categorized into 7 types. That is proper nouns, common nouns, collective nouns, abstract nouns, compound nouns, countable nouns, and uncountable nouns. The first kind of noun is proper nouns. What are proper nouns? Proper nouns are names given to person, place, or thing. Let's take few examples. Ram, Sita, India, Delhi. These are examples of proper nouns. Let's do few sentences where we can identify proper nouns. Agatha Christie wrote many books. Here, the noun, our proper noun is Agatha Christie because it is a name. Let's go to India. This is our second sentence. Here, our proper noun is India because it is the name of a country. It's a proper noun. Let's do the next kind of noun, that is the common nouns. What are common nouns? Common nouns denote a class of objects or a concept as opposed to a particular individual. That is, it talks about a set of similar objects. That is, table, chair, boy, girl, etc. The category table, we can talk about the different kinds of tables and can club it under the category of table. So let's do a few sentences where we will try to find out the common nouns. I want to be a writer. Here our common noun is writer because it talks about a group of writers. They can have different names but they will fall under the category of writers. Let's do another sentence. Let's go to city. Here, city is a common noun because under the category of city, you will have different kinds of cities that might have particular names, and that will fall under the category of proper nouns, which we have already done. Let's do the next kind of noun, that is the collective noun. What are collective nouns? Collective nouns are words for single things that are made up of more than one person, animal, place, thing, or idea. Let's take few examples. Bunch, group, jury, class, college, team. All these qualify as collective nouns because they are talking about similar objects in plural form. Let's take few sentences where we'll try to identify the collective nouns. Every morning, The herd follows its leader to the watering. Here, a collective noun is the herd because it denotes a group. In the next sentence, today, Mrs. Kennedy's class takes its SOL test. Here, class becomes a collective noun because it talks about a group. Let's do abstract nouns. What are abstract nouns? Abstract nouns are words that denote abstract qualities. That is, they are not concrete and we cannot touch them. Let's take few examples to understand abstract nouns. Truth, beauty, happiness, childhood. These are words that are examples of abstract nouns. Let's take happiness. We cannot feel, we cannot touch happiness. We can only feel. In the same way, you cannot touch childhood. You can only feel. That's an experience. Let's take few sentences where we will try to find out the abstract nouns. I want to see justice served. In this sentence, our abstract noun is justice because this is not a concrete thing that we can hold. It is just an abstract quality. The next sentence. I would like the freedom to travel all over the world. Here, our abstract noun is freedom because it is an abstract quality. Freedom cannot be touched or it's not concrete. It's not something that we can hold. Let's come to compound nouns. What are compound nouns? Compound nouns basically refer to two or more nouns combined to form a single noun. For example, sister-in-law. This is formed by combining sister and law. Next example is schoolboy. This is formed by combining two nouns, school and boy. The next example is fruit juice. This is formed by combining fruit and juice. Let's do the next kind of nouns, that is countable nouns, which are also known as count nouns. Countable nouns can be divided into singular and plural form. In plural, these nouns can be used with a number, that is, they can be counted. For example, friends, chairs, houses, boss. I can always say that I have 5 friends or I have 10 chairs. These are countable nouns. Now let's come to the uncountable nouns, which are also known as non-count nouns. These can only be used in the singular form. They can't be counted. Let's take few examples which count as uncountable nouns. Money, bread, water, coffee. I cannot count these things. I cannot say that I have 10 money or I cannot say that I have 20 water. So that's why these are uncountable nouns. So today we learnt about the different kinds of nouns. Meet you again in the next class. Let's do the intransitive verbs. Intransitive verbs are those verbs that do not take up a direct object and they do not also answer to the question what or whom like they answered in the transitive verbs. Instead, they answer to the question how. Let's take few examples where we have used intransitive verbs. Tom's grades improved with the help of a tutor. Here, improved is our intransitive verb. So we should ask the question, improved how? So the answer would be with the help of a tutor. Let's take another example. His sister died of malaria. Died is our intransitive verb and it does not take up a direct object. it will answer to the question died how. The answer would be of malaria. Let's take another example. We arrived at school very late. Here, arrived is our intransitive verb. It does not answer the question what or whom. If we ask arrived what, it will not answer the question. Arrived whom, even then it will not answer the question. So this is our intransitive verb. Hello friends, today we are going to learn about different types of verbs. The first among them is action verbs. Action verbs are verbs that primarily express action. They describe things and actions that occur rather than the state of being. For example, sit, eat, cycle, etc. These are action verbs because they are describing actions that are taking place. Action verbs are further divided into two, transitive verbs and intransitive verbs. Let's take a look at transitive verbs. Transitive verbs are verbs that are used together with a direct object. The object can be a thing or person. There is one small tip that you can use in transitive verbs is that it answers to the question what or whom. So let's take few sentences where we'll talk about transitive verbs. Richard owes Jimmy some money. Here, the word owes is a transitive verb. It answers to the question what. Owes what? Jimmy some money. Let's come to the next sentence. He feeds his children when their mother is away. Here, the verb feeds. Put up a question after the verb feed. Feeds what? Feeds whom? His children while their mother is away. It answers to the question whom. That's why it takes up this direct object. Third sentence. She makes jewelry to sell at the market. Here, the verb makes answers to the question what. Makes what? Jewelry to sell at the market. There are few words that are transitive as well as intransitive. Let's take an example and then see how it works. John studies English. Here, our verb is studies. When we put up the question what, studies what, the answer is English. Therefore, in this sentence, the verb studies takes up the direct object English. So this is our transitive verb. Let's take another example. John studies hard. Here, studies is a verb, but it does not answer to the question studies what. Therefore, this is our intransitive verb. The same verb studies acts both as a transitive as well as an intransitive verb. Let's take another example. The mother sang a song to her children. Here, sang is a verb. It answers to the question what. Sang what? Sang a song. So in this sentence, the verb sang takes up the direct object. Let's take another sentence. The mother sang to her children. In this sentence, sang is a verb, but it does not answer to the question what. When we put up the question what, sang what, we do not get an answer. Here, therefore, here sang is our intransitive verb. Therefore, the same verb sang acts as a transitive verb in this sentence and as an intransitive verb in the other sentence. Let's do another kind of verb, that is auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs are verbs that come before main verbs in a verb phrase. For example, be, shall, may and could. Let's take few sentences where we'll underline the auxiliary verbs. We shall meet tomorrow in the afternoon and discuss the matter we left pending. Here, meet is our main verb and shall becomes our auxiliary verb because it comes before the main verb. Let's take the next example. We may go shopping anytime from now because the rains have stopped. Here, go shopping is a main verb and the verb may becomes our auxiliary verb. Thus, the auxiliary verbs come before, that is, they are placed before the main verbs. Let's do the next kind of verb, that is dynamic verb. Dynamic means change. Therefore, a verb which is used to show a process, an action or a sensation rather than a state of being is known as a dynamic verb. Let's take few sentences where we'll try to identify our dynamic verbs. He drives carefully down the hill. Here, the verb drives shows a process, that is a process of driving. Therefore, this becomes a dynamic verb. Next sentence, Matthew is growing old. Here, the verb is growing and the word growing specifically means a process, that is the process of growing old. So this becomes our dynamic verb. Some of the examples of dynamic verbs are drive, grow, throw, hit. Let's do the next kind of verb, that is stative verbs, which are also known as state verbs. Stative verbs are verbs that are basically used to define a situation or state. One of the important factor of this verb is that these verbs aren't used in continuous tense. So let's take a look at few examples and find out stative verbs. What do you have to say about this behavior nowadays? Here, the verb have represents a fixed state. Therefore, this becomes our stative verb. Let's take another example. You seem too tired to continue working today. Here, the verb seem denotes a sense of static state. Therefore, this becomes our stative verb. Some of the examples of stative verbs are appear, have, seem, know, etc. Let's do the next kind of verb, and it is finite verb. What is a finite verb? Finite verb is a verb that agrees with a given subject in a sentence. It is usually marked for tense. Let's take few examples of finite verbs. Appear, promise, enjoy, love, hate. These are examples of finite verbs. I have written down two sentences where I have underlined the finite verbs. Let's take a look at them. He appears sick. Here, a finite verb is appears because it agrees with the subject. If the subject changes, the form of the verb will also change according to the tense. In a similar manner, in the second sentence, Jane promised to change her behavior. Promised is a finite verb and it will change with changes in the subject. That is, it will change according to the tense. Let's do the next kind of verb, and it is non-finite verbs. Non-finite verbs are verbs that that has no distinction in different tense. That is, unlike the finite verbs, non-finite verbs do not change with changes in the tense of the sentence. Few examples are expand, leave, smile, etc. Let's take a look at few example sentences. You can expand your boundary. In this sentence, the verb expand is our non-finite verb because it does not change with change in the tense of the sentence. Let's take another example. We may leave after 10 p.m. Here, leave is our non-finite verb because in this sentence it does not change, the verb will not change its form with changes in tense. Let's take another last example. She had a reason to smile. Here, the verb reason will again not change its form. There will be no changes in its structure with change in the tense of the sentence. Let's do the next kind of verb, that is regular verbs. Regular verbs are verbs whose past participle and past tense is attained by adding either d, ed or t at the end of the verb. It is sometimes also called as weak verb. Few examples of regular verbs are accept, arrive, fence and deliver. Let's take a look at few sentences where we'll find out the regular verbs. I accepted the offer. Here, a regular verb is accepted because the main verb is accept and the past participle and past tense of the verb accept is got by adding ed at the end of the verb. That is, accept becomes accepted. In the next sentence, he has just arrived. Arrived is our regular verb because the main verb is arrive and the past participle and past tense of the verb arrive is attained by adding ed at the end of the verb. The next sentence, he fenced the area. Here, our regular verb is fenced. The main verb is actually fence, to which we are adding ed, and then we get our past participle and past tense of the main verb fence. So fenced is a regular verb over here. Let's do the next kind of verbs, that is irregular verbs. Irregular verbs do not follow the usual rules of common verbs. That is, they do not end in ed, t or et like the common verbs. That is the weak verb that we learned previously. Some of the examples of irregular verbs are get, go, say, see and etc. Let's take few sentences and look at the irregular verbs. He got his business running at the right time. Here, our irregular verb is got. The main verb of got is get. The simple past of get is got and the past participle of get is gotten. That is, this verb does not end in conventional way. You cannot have the simple past of get as getted or the past participle of get as getted. It changes completely. It is get, got and gotten. Let's take another sentence. We went home early. Here, the irregular verb is went. The main verb of went is go. And the simple past of go is went. And the past participle of go is gone. So, it is go, which is the main verb. simple past is went, and past participle is gone. Let's do another sentence. They came by bus on a Saturday morning. Here, our irregular verb is came. The main form of the verb came is again came. And the simple past of the verb came is come. And the past participle of the verb came is again came. So, these are the irregular verbs. Let's do the next kind of verb, that is lexical verbs. Lexical means relating to words. Lexical verbs are the main verbs in a phrase or a sentence. Unlike auxiliary verbs, lexical verbs have their own independent meaning. For example, I was acting the jerk yesterday at the carnival. Here, was acting is a complete verb. Was is the auxiliary verb. And acting is our lexical verb. Acting can exist independently, it can have its own meaning, whereas was, which is an auxiliary or supporting verb, cannot act as an individual verb in any sentence. Hello friends, today we are going to talk about pronouns. Previously I told you that pronouns are words that replace nouns. There are certain rules which should be followed while replacing the noun with a pronoun. The foremost among them is we should look at the function that the noun plays in a sentence. And the second rule is that we should also check the gender of the noun. Depending on that, the pronoun that will replace the noun will be different. Here is a table which denotes the subject pronouns, object pronouns and possessive pronouns of first person singular, second person singular, third person singular, first person plural, second person plural and third person plural form. So let's go through this one by one. The subject pronoun of first person singular is I, the object pronoun is me and the possessive pronoun is my. The subject pronoun of second person singular form is you, object pronoun is you and possessive pronoun is your. The subject pronoun of third person singular male is he, object pronoun is him and the possessive pronoun is his. The subject pronoun of third person singular female is she, the object pronoun is her and the possessive pronoun is her. The subject pronoun of third person singular neutral is it, object pronoun is it and possessive pronoun is its. The subject pronoun of first person plural is we, object pronoun is us, possessive pronoun is our. The subject pronoun of second person plural is you, object pronoun is object pronoun is you and possessive pronoun is your. And the subject pronoun of third person plural is they, the object pronoun is them and the possessive pronoun is their. Today we are going to learn about the different kinds of pronouns. The foremost among them is subject pronouns. What are subject pronouns? Subject pronouns are basically found mostly at the beginning of a sentence, and the subject of a sentence is the person or thing that lives out the verb. For example, I owe that person $3,000. Here, the subject pronoun is I. It is found at the beginning of the sentence and it lives out the action owe. That is, owe someone a debt of $3,000. Let's do another sentence. To him, I must now pay my children's college funds. Here, the subject pronoun is not found at the beginning of the sentence. Our subject pronoun is I, which is not found at the beginning of this sentence, but we know that the verb is pay and the subject I lives out that verb. Therefore, this is our subject pronoun. The next kind of pronoun that we are going to study is object pronouns. The list of pronouns that count as object pronouns are me, you, him, her, it, us, and them. Object pronouns indicate the recipient of an action or motion, and they usually come after verbs and prepositions like to, with, for, etc. Let's take few sentences and try to understand object pronouns. The guy I borrowed money from showed me a crowbar and told me to pay him immediately. Here, this is our object pronoun, me, and another object pronoun in this sentence, because these two pronouns are recipients of the verbs showed and told. Let's do another sentence. I begged him for more time. In this sentence, our subject pronoun is I and him is our object pronoun, because the recipient of the verb, that is, the verb is taking place on him. So, we have learned the object pronouns. Today, we are going to learn about subject pronouns and object pronouns, that is, their usage in sentences. Usually in English, there is confusion regarding the usage of subject pronoun and object pronoun. Let me take an example and then show it to you. Me and him had a fight, or is it he and I had a fight? There is usually confusion which one is the right one. There is a simple tip that I'll give you which you can follow and it will help clear the confusion. You never say me had a fight. That's a wrong statement. Or you never say him had a fight. You always say either he had a fight or I had a fight. Therefore, the right sentence is he and I had a fight. And me and him had a fight is the wrong sentence. Let's take another example. The police arrested me and him, or is it the police arrested he and I? Here we can follow the same procedure. You can shorten this sentence. The police arrested me. That's a right statement. The police arrested him. That's a right statement again. So a correct sentence would be the police arrested me and him. It is wrong to say the police arrested he or the police arrested I. Therefore, the police arrested he and I is the wrong sentence. Let's do the next kind of pronoun, that is demonstrative pronouns. There are 5 demonstrative pronouns. These, those, this, that, and such. The function of the demonstrative pronoun is to emphasize the nouns that they are replacing. Let's take few example sentences to understand them. Such was his understanding. Here, the word such is replacing the noun and bringing focus on the noun. Let's do another sentence. Those are totally awesome. Here, the word those is a demonstrative pronoun because it is replacing the noun and bringing some focus or attention on the noun that it is replacing. The next kind of pronoun that we are going to do is interrogative pronoun. Interrogative pronouns are basically used to start a question. Some of the examples of interrogative pronouns are who, whom, which, whomever, whatever. Let's take an example and then we'll try to understand what an interrogative pronoun is. Whom will you bring to the party? Here, clearly, the word whom is used to pose a question. Therefore, this becomes our interrogative pronoun. Let's do the next kind of pronoun, that is reflexive pronoun. These pronouns generally end in self or selves. They are object pronouns that we use when the subject and the object are the same noun. Let's take an example and try to understand reflexive pronoun. I told myself not to bet all my money on one horse. Here, our reflexive pronoun is myself, because the subject and the object in this sentence is referring to the same noun. Let's take another example. The robber hurt himself chasing through the alley. Here, our reflexive pronoun is himself, because here again the subject and the subject and the object are the same noun. So, himself is a reflexive pronoun. Hello friends, today we are going to learn about the different kinds of adjectives. The foremost among them is adjective of quality. As we know, adjectives basically modify the nouns. What an adjective of quality does is, it describes the noun that refers to action, state or quality. Let's take a few examples. When I say dangerous chemicals, the word dangerous modifies my noun chemicals. It gives me some additional information about chemicals. Let's take another example. Big house. The word big modifies my noun house. It gives me an additional information about house, that it is big. Let's take another example. Tall tree. Here, tall is my adjective of quality because it gives some additional information, that is a quality about the tree. Let's do the next kind of adjective, that is the adjective of quantity. As the name suggests, adjective of quantity is about numbers. That is, an adjective of quantity tells us the number, that is how many or amount, how much of a noun is there. Let's take few examples. He has eaten 3 apples. Here the noun is apples and the adjective of quantity is 3 because it denotes the number of apples. Let's take another example. I don't have much money. Here the word much tells me the amount of money that I have, that it is not much. Therefore, much becomes my adjective of quantity. Let's do the next kind of adjective, and that is demonstrative adjective. The work of a demonstrative adjective is to show that the noun that it modifies is singular or plural and the position of the noun is near or far from the person who is speaking or writing. Let's take few examples. This red balloon is mine and those 3 yellow ones are yours. Here our noun is red balloon and it is singular. Therefore, our demonstrative adjective is this. There is another demonstrative adjective in this sentence, and that is those. because it talks about the position of 3 yellow balloons which are far, and that's why the usage of the demonstrative adjective those. Let's take another example. These 2 fat cats have tails, but that thin cat doesn't have a tail. Here our demonstrative adjective is these, and it modifies the nouns 2 fat cats, which is plural, and that's why the usage of the demonstrative adjective these. Let's do the next kind of adjective, and that is possessive adjective. Possessive adjectives are adjectives which express possession of a noun by someone or something. Possession, that is ownership of a noun. Possessive adjectives are also known as possessive pronouns. They have singular and plural form. Some of the possessive adjectives in the singular form are my, your, his, her, its. And some of the possessive adjectives in plural form are our, your, their, again their, another there. So let's do a few sentences where we'll try to figure out the possessive adjectives. I spent my afternoon cleaning the toilet. Here the noun is afternoon and there is a possessive adjective attached to it. When I say my afternoon, I am sort of owning up the afternoon, and that's why this is my possessive adjective. Let's do another sentence. This must be your cap. Cap is our noun over here, and this shows ownership. When I say your cap, I am talking about the ownership belonging to someone else. That's why this is our possessive adjective. Your. Hello friends, today we are going to learn about the different kinds of adverbs. The adverbs can be divided into 5 types, and they are adverbs of place, adverb of time, adverb of manner, adverb of degree, and adverb of frequency. Let's do the first kind of adverb, and that is adverb of place. Adverb of place basically tells us where something is done or happens. The key word over here is where. And adverb of place is generally placed after the verb, object, or at the end of a sentence. Examples of adverb of place are above, below, here, outside, under, upstairs, etc. I've written down 2 sentences where we'll try to identify the adverb of place. We can stop here for lunch. The question that we need to ask, the verb is stop where? The answer would be here for lunch. So, here is my adverb of place. Let's take the next sentence. They rushed for their lives when fire broke out in the floor below. The question that we need to ask, the verb is where? Rushed where? The floor below. So below becomes my adverb of place. Let's do the next kind of adverb, and that is the adverb of time. Adverb of time tells us when something is done or happens. The key word over here is when. Examples of adverbs of time are afterwards, already, always, now, soon, etc. Let's do sentences where we'll try to identify the adverb of time. He collapsed and died yesterday. The question that you need to ask, the verb is when. Collapsed when? The answer that you get is yesterday. So that becomes my adverb of time. Let's take another sentence. Last week, we were stuck in the lift for an hour. So the question that I need to ask, the verb is stuck when. So the answer would be last week. This makes my adverb of time. The next kind of adverb that we are going to do is adverb of manner. Adverb of manner tells us how something is done or happens. The key word over here is how. And most adverbs of manner end in ly. Let's take few examples. Badly, sadly, slowly, quickly, etc. I have written down 2 sentences where we'll try to find out the adverb of manner. The brothers were badly injured in the fight. The verb over here is injured, and the question that you have to put up to the verb is how. So how were they injured? The answer that we get is badly injured. Therefore, badly is my adverb of manner. Let's come to the next sentence. They had to act fast to save the others floating in the water. My verb over here is act, and the question that I have to put up is how. So how did they act? They acted fast. Fast is my answer. That becomes my adverb of manner. The next kind of adverb is adverb of frequency. Frequency, as the name suggests, this shows how often something happens. The key word over here is how often. Examples of adverbs of frequency are generally, nearly, hardly ever, always. I've written down 2 sentences where we'll try to find out the adverb of frequency. While overseas, he frequently phoned home. How often did he phone home? The answer that we get is frequently. So that makes our adverb of frequency. The next sentence. Peter seldom reads the Bible. The verb over here is reads, and the question that I have to put up is how often. So how often does Peter read Bible? The answer is seldom. So that is my adverb of frequency. The last kind of adverb is adverb of degree. An adverb of degree tells us the level or extent to which something is done or happens. Examples of adverb of degree are almost, much, nearly, quite, really, etc. Let's take few sentences and find out our adverb of degree. It was too dark for us to find our way. So the extent of darkness is denoted by the word too. So that is our adverb of degree. Let's do the next sentence. Her daughter is quite fat for her age. And that is, the level of her being fat is denoted by the word quite. That makes our adverb of degree. So today we have learnt the different kinds of adverbs. Meet you again in the next class. Hello friends. Today we are going to learn the comparison of adverbs. Adverbs take up 3 forms: positive, comparative, and superlative. I've listed down few examples of adverbs in their positive, comparative, and superlative form. Let's pick them one by one. Early, that's a positive form. Comparative form is earlier, and superlative form is earliest. Usually, the comparative form takes up the ending er, and the superlative form takes up the ending est. Let's take another example. Fast, faster, fastest. These the verbs that I just mentioned are single syllable verbs, and that's why their comparative and superlative form takes up the ending er and est. For those adverbs which do not have, which are not single syllables but are three syllables or more than 3 syllables, their form changes. They take up the verb more and most along with them. For example, angrily becomes more angrily in the comparative form and most angrily in the superlative form. Similarly, gladly becomes more gladly in the comparative form and most gladly in the superlative form. Let's talk about the comparative form now. Comparative form of the adverb is used to compare two things. For example, you speak more loudly than a loudspeaker. Here the comparison is being made between the person and the loudspeaker. Therefore, the adverb that is used is in the comparative form. More loudly. Superlative form. Superlative form is used to compare 3 or more things. For example, of all the girls, your sister sang the most sweetly. Here the comparison is being made among all the girls, that is more than three people. Therefore, the superlative form of the adverb is used, and that's why most sweetly is our superlative form. So today we have done the comparison of adverbs. Meet you again in the next class. Hello friends, today we are going to learn about types of conjunctions. There are basically 4 kinds of conjunctions, that is coordinating conjunction, subordinating conjunction, correlative conjunction and connective conjunction. Let's start with coordinating conjunctions. What are coordinating conjunctions? Basically, coordinating conjunctions join words, phrases and clauses. Examples of coordinating conjunctions are and, but, for, nor, or, yet, etc. The coordinating conjunction and is used to connect similar ideas, while the coordinating conjunction but connects to contrasting ideas, that is, two opposite ideas. Let's take the few sentences where we'll see how coordinating conjunction operates. Take this sentence. You need to know what right you have. And then again, you also need to know how to use them. Here, the unnecessary repetition of you need to know is very inappropriate. In such a situation, we use coordinating conjunction. And this statement will become, you need to know what right you have and how to use them. This in a way shortens the sentence and makes it appropriate. It isn't awkward. Next sentence. This is an expensive but immensely useful machine. Here we are talking about two contrasting ideas, that is one of being expensive, the other of being useful. So our coordinating conjunction over here is but. You can choose the white one or the black one. Here the choice is between two things, the white and the black, and that's why the usage of the coordinating conjunction or. Let's do the next kind of conjunction, that is subordinating conjunction. The purpose of a subordinating conjunction is to join a subordinate clause and a main clause. Examples of subordinating conjunctions are although, unless, before, etc. Let's see the usage of subordinating conjunctions in few sentences. Here the sentence is, the whole ostrich rearing business will fail unless we put in more money. The main clause in this sentence is, the whole ostrich rearing business will fail. And the subordinating clause is we put in more money. The word joining these two clauses is unless, and that is our subordinating conjunction. Let's take another example. These girls are already drunk, although they have drunk only a little. The main clause in this sentence is these girls are already drunk. The subordinating clause is they have drunk only a little. The word joining these two clauses is although. Therefore, that is our subordinating conjunction. Let's do the next kind of conjunction, that is correlating conjunction. Correlating conjunctions, unlike other conjunctions, are not single words. They occur in pairs. For example, either or, neither nor, not only but also. Let's take few sentences where correlating conjunctions are used. You can have either this one or that one. Here the conjunction either and or come together. They cannot occur separately. Let's take another example. I like the rainbow. Not only it is colorful, but also it curves. Here our correlating conjunction is not only and but also. They cannot occur separately, they can only occur in pairs. So that's correlating conjunction. The last kind of conjunction is connecting conjunction. Connecting conjunction join same parts of speech. They either join words, clauses and phrases. Let's take a look at few connecting conjunctions. In the first sentence, I have a brother and a sister. The connecting conjunction and joins brother and sister, that is noun is linked to noun. In the second sentence, we bathe our dog and cat in the same tub. Again, and is a connecting conjunction joining dog and cat. That is joining the words dog and cat. In the third sentence, the fisherman is carrying a bucket full of fish and walking cheerfully along the beach. Here the phrases a fisherman is carrying a bucket full of fish is joined to the other phrase walking cheerfully along the beach by the connecting conjunction and. Let's take another example. We went closer and were able to see it later. Here the clauses we went closer, were able to see it later is joined by the connecting conjunction and. So today we learnt about the different kinds of conjunctions. Meet you again in the next class. Hello friends, today we are going to learn about subject-verb agreement. In English grammar, the verb changes its form according to the subject. There are certain rules that you should remember while changing the verb according to the subject. The foremost among them is that singular subjects go with singular verbs. The next one is plural subjects go with plural verbs. That is, plural verbs always take up plural subjects. In the present tense, the rule of agreement states that the verb must have an added s, the verb must end with s if the subject or noun is third person singular. The next rule says that in the present tense, the verb does not have an s. It does not have an s if the noun is plural. The last rule is that in the past tense, the verb does not change with the number of the subject or pronoun. Whether the subject or noun is singular or plural, the verb in the past tense does not change its form. We learned the different rules of subject-verb agreement. Now let's take a look at the examples of these rules. The foremost among them is singular subject, singular verb rule. That is, when the subject is singular, the verb that it takes up is also singular. For example, my uncle has bushy eyebrows. Here, our subject is my uncle, which is clearly singular. Therefore, the verb is also has to be singular. And the verb over here is has. The next rule. Plural subject always takes up plural verbs. For example, the children have very loving parents. Here, our subject is the children, which is in the plural form. Therefore, the verb that it should take up should also be in the plural form. And that's why our verb is have. Let's come to the third rule. In present tense, the verb should end in S if the subject or noun is third person singular. For example, he eats breakfast. Here the subject is in third person singular. Therefore, the verb ends in S. That's why it is eats breakfast. Another example, she plays football. Here the subject is she and it is in the third person singular form. Therefore, the verb ends in S. Plays football. Next rule. In the present tense, the verb should not end in S if the subject or noun is in the third person plural form. For example, they eat breakfast. Here, our subject is in third person plural form. Therefore, the verb does not end with an S and our verb is eat. Let's do the next rule, the final rule. In the past tense, there is no change in the verb whether the subject or the noun is in the singular form or plural form. For example, he walked. Here the subject is in the third person singular form and the verb is walked. They walked. Here the subject is in third person plural form. Yet the verb is again walked. It has not changed its form according to the subject because here the sentence is in past tense. There are certain other rules to be followed in our topic of subject-verb agreement. Let's go through that. The verb agrees with the subject and not with the noun next to it. I've given you few sentences as example to clear this rule. Let's go through it. The man with 2 briefcases is heading for the airport. Here our noun phrase is man with 2 briefcases. There is a tendency to put a plural verb after the word briefcases because it is the noun is plural. But that would be wrong because the rule is that the verb agrees with the subject and not the noun next to it. Our subject in this noun phrase is man, which is singular. Therefore, the verb should also be singular. And that's why is correct, whereas the sentence, the man with 2 briefcases are heading for the airport is wrong. This is the correct sentence. Let's do another example. Her bouquet of flowers is a birthday present. Since the flowers is plural, there is a tendency to add a plural verb. But take a look. Bouquet of flowers is a noun phrase. The subject is bouquet and the noun is flowers. The subject bouquet is singular. Therefore, what the rule says is the verb agrees with the subject. Therefore, our verb should also be singular. Therefore, is. And that's why this statement is correct. her bouquet of flowers is a birthday present. Whereas this statement, her bouquet of flowers are a birthday present, is wrong. In a topic of subject-verb agreement, there are certain rules to be followed when the subject is in the compound form. That is, the first rule is, if the subject has two or more nouns, it takes a plural verb. For example, Dick, Tom and Harry are triplets. Here, the subject Dick, Tom and Harry has three nouns joined by the conjunction and. Therefore, the verb that it takes up is plural. Next rule is, when two or more nouns are joined by and to form a subject, the verb is in the plural form. For example, the grandfather, the father and the son have beard. Here, three nouns, the grandfather, father, the son are joined by and that's why the verb that it takes up is in the plural form, have. The next rule is, if the nouns that make up a compound subject are joined by or and both are singular, a singular verb is used. For example, his father or mother is a professor of insects. Here, father and mother are in the singular form and they are joined by the conjunction or. Therefore, the verb that it takes up according to the rule of subject-verb agreement is that the verb that it takes up is in the singular form. That's why is. The next rule is, if the nouns that make up a compound subject are singular and plural, the verb agrees with the noun just next to it. For example, in the sentence, his killers or killer is still at large. Here, the nouns are killers and killer. So, according to the rule that we just read, it should follow that the verb should be in the singular form because the noun killer is nearer to it. And killer is in the singular form, therefore the verb should also be in the singular form. If this sentence had been like, his killer or killers, then the verb that would have been used is are. So the sentence would have become, his killer or killers are still at large. There are few other rules worth remembering in a subject-verb agreement topic. Let's get started. In a sentence where the subject comes after the verb, the rules of subject-verb agreement are followed. For example, there were three big men seated at the next table staring at me. Here, the subject is men and the verb is were. The subject is in the plural form and therefore the verb should also be in the plural form. Therefore, were is used instead of was. Next rule is, when two nouns refer to the same person or thing, the verb is in the singular form. For example, in the sentence, my uncle and handyman is very useful. Here, uncle and handyman refer to the same person. Therefore, the verb that is used is in the singular form, is. Next rule is, when two nouns refer to the same person, the article the is used only once and the verb is in the singular form. Therefore, the nurse and sister of the patient was very caring. Here, the nurse and sister refer to the same patient. Therefore, the verb which is used is in the singular form, was. One thing to be remembered is the article the is used only once with the nurse because here the subject nurse and sister refer to the same person, that is the patient. Next rule is, when two different persons are referred, the article the is repeated and the verb is in the plural form. That is, the owner and the occupant of the house are good. Here we are talking about two different persons. Therefore, the article the is repeated here. The owner and the occupant. And the verb that is used is in the plural form. That's why we are using are instead of is. Let's go through certain other rules of subject-verb agreement. Phrases which begin with as well as together with etc. are not the same as and therefore the verb used is in the singular form instead of being in the plural form. For example, the woman with her daughter is selling flowers. Since the word with is used here, the verb used is in the singular form. Is. Next rule is each and every joined by and take a singular verb. For example, each and every patient has to undergo a medical examination. According to the rule that we read just now, each and every patient. Since each and every is used, the verb has to be in the singular form. Therefore, the usage of the verb has. The next rule is when two nouns are treated as one entity, the verb is in the singular form. Therefore, in the example, bread and butter was his daily breakfast. Bread and butter is treated as one entity. It is together. Therefore, the verb used is was and that is in the singular form. Let's go through the last set of rules regarding subject-verb agreement. When a quantity or amount is treated as a whole, the verb used is singular. For example, the $100 you lent me was not enough. Here, the amount $100 is treated as a whole. Therefore, the verb used is singular. The next rule is there are indefinite pronouns, for example, anyone, nobody, somebody, which are always singular. Therefore, they take up singular verbs. And then there are indefinite pronouns, both, others, several, which are always plural. Therefore, they take up plural verbs. Then there is another case of indefinite pronouns which act either singular or plural. Therefore, they take up either singular verb or plural verb. For example, all he needs is a $1,000 loan. Here, all is treated as a single entity. Therefore, the verb used is in the singular form. Next sentence, all were arrested for fighting. Here, all is used in the sense of everyone involved in the fighting. Therefore, the verb used is in the plural form, were. The last rule is the verb in an either or, neither nor sentence agrees with the noun or pronoun closest to it. For example, neither the plates nor the serving bowl goes on that shelf. The noun closest to the verb is serving bowl, which is singular. Therefore, the verb taken up is in the singular form. If the sentence is changed in this way, neither the serving bowl nor the plates go on that shelf. In that case, plates is the nearest noun. Therefore, the verb takes up plural form. Go. It changes to go from goes. Therefore, we have discussed all the rules of subject-verb agreement. Meet you again in the next class. Hello friends. Today I am going to teach you about articles. What are articles? Articles are elements that modify a noun. Anything that modifies a noun is known as an adjective, which makes articles as adjectives. There are basically three three articles: the, a, an. And these are classified into two kinds: definite articles and indefinite articles. Example of a definite article is the. What does a definite article mean? Definite article identifies a definite or particular noun that we know of because it has been mentioned earlier. We do not use definite articles for those nouns that are not mentioned earlier. Let's come to the next kind of article, which is the indefinite article. Examples of indefinite articles are a and an. What are indefinite articles? Basically, indefinite articles are used to introduce something that has not been mentioned before. And one of the rules to remember in using indefinite articles is that these are not used in front of plural nouns. And another rule which is worth remembering about indefinite articles is that usage of a is used, that is, article a is used only in front of words that start with a consonant, and the article an is used before words that begin with a vowel. Let's talk about the rules that are to be followed in the usage of the article the. The first rule is when there is only one such person. For example, the Pope, the President of the United States. There is just one Pope, or there is just one President of the United States. Therefore, the usage of the. The next rule is before names of famous buildings. For example, Eiffel Tower, the Eiffel Tower, the Great Wall of China. Before a singular noun that refers to a whole class or group of people or things. For example, middle class, that is a whole class. The homeless, that is a group of people who are homeless. Therefore, the usage of the word, that is the article the. Before special names of rivers, the Nile, the Dead Sea. Before certain organizations, for example, the United Nations, the Republican Party. Before nouns such as places we know of. For example, we arrived at the ferry terminal for our trip. Here, there is a familiarity with the ferry terminal, therefore usage of the article the. Before abbreviations, the BBC. BBC means British Broadcasting Corporation. Therefore, in front of abbreviations, article the is used. Let's learn about the different rules regarding usage of article a. The first rule is when we mention something for the first time. For example, I saw a dog. Therefore, article a is used because the dog was seen for the first time. The next rule is before a word which begins with a consonant. For example, there is a woman waiting for you. The word woman starts with a consonant, therefore article a is placed before it. The next rule is before a word with a long sound of u. Examples of this rule are a university, university. Therefore, university has a long sound of u and hence the usage of article a. Another example is a uniform. Next rule, before the word one, because one sounds as if it begins with a W. W. A one-way street. That's our example for this rule. The next rule is, it also means one. We can use a or one as follows. He keeps a dozen snakes as pets. This can also be written as he keeps 1 dozen snakes as pets. Therefore, the word one can be replaced by article A. The next rule is sometimes it is better to use A instead of one. Example of this rule is she wiped up the vomit with a mop. It would be very inappropriate to say she wiped up the vomit with one mop. Therefore, the article A has replaced one. The last rule is we can use A before a proper noun. For example, a Mr. Brown called to ask about the money. Proper noun over here is Mr. Brown. Therefore, usage of the article A in front of proper noun Mr. Brown. Let's do the rules regarding the usage of article an. Article an is placed before a noun which begins with a vowel sound. For example, they say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So, here apple begins with a vowel A. Therefore, usage of article an. The next rule is before a singular noun, person or thing to mean only one in quantity. For example, she is an only child. Only child denotes just one quantity. Therefore, usage of article an. The next rule is before a noun that is representative of a group or species. For example, an ostrich has only 2 toes on each foot. Here, the word ostrich represents the whole group of birds called ostriches. Therefore, usage of article an over here. Next rule is before a noun that begins with a silent H. For example, an hour, an honest man. These are words beginning with silent H. Therefore, usage of article an in front of them. The last rule is before abbreviations, some of which begin with a consonant. For example, in this sentence, he wanted to be an MP but was not elected to be one. In front of abbreviation MP, article an is used. So, we learnt today about articles and the rules that are to be followed in using them. Meet you again in the next class. Hello friends, today we are going to learn about modals. Modals are verbs, and the modal verbs and the primary verbs collectively are called as auxiliary verbs. In a previous video, you can watch what auxiliary verbs are. You can watch that in detail. Now, the difference between the modal verbs and the primary verbs is that modal verbs cannot be used independently because they do not make any sense without the usage of primary verbs along with them. Few examples of modal verbs are can, could, may, might, and you can see the list that I have given over here. Let's learn the usage of can and could. First, the usage of can. We use can to express ability, possibility, permission and request. Let's take a few examples to understand this. The first example is the little boy can ride a horse faster than his father can. This is an example of ability and usage of the word of the modal verb can. The next one is can I walk on the grass? This is a permission and we are using the modal verb can. Next, let's come to the usage of could. Could is basically the past tense of can and this is used to express request, possibility ability, permission and suggestion. Let's take a few examples to understand this. Could I bring my puppy along? This is a possibility. Next one is, my grandfather could speak 6 languages. This statement talks about the ability of grandfather. So could is our modal verb over here. Let's learn the usage of may and might now. Usage of may first. Usage of may is done when something is more likely. It is also used to express possibility, permission and wish. Let's take few examples and try to understand the usage of may. A suicide bomber may have caused the explosion. This is example sentence of a possibility. Second one is, may you live to the ripe age of 100. This sentence expresses a wish. Let's come to the usage of might now. Might is used when something is less likely to happen. And it is also used to express possibility, permission, suggestion and annoyance. Let's take few example sentences. I might have stepped on the banana skin and fallen if I had not noticed it. This is an example sentence of a possibility. Might is used in those cases where the condition did not happen, but there was a possibility for the condition to happen. Next sentence is, might I ask why you two are not speaking to each other? This is an example sentence of permission. May and might are such modal verbs which are interchangeable. That is, you can replace may with might or might with may in your sentences. They are interchangeable. Let's learn about the usage of word will and would. Will is used to express future tense, willingness, request, possibility, order and habitual action. Let's take few examples. We will be at the funeral gathering tomorrow. This sentence talks about a situation which will take place in future. Therefore, usage of the modal verb will. Let's take another example. I will volunteer as witness to the hit and run accident. This sentence talks about a situation where there is a willingness. Therefore, usage of the word will. Now let's come to usage of would. We use would to express a condition, advice, request, intention and opinion. Let's take few example sentences. I think you would command more respect if you talk less. This is a conditional sentence because it talks about a condition where if you talk less, then you would command more respect. The next sentence is, his behavior is not what she would expect from a gentleman. This is an opinion held by some person. Therefore, usage of the modal verb would. Let's learn the usage of shall and should now. Usage of shall. It is used with pronouns I and we. Shall is also used to express the future, suggestion, question, and determination. Let's take few example sentences. I shall never forget his dying work about nobody going to look after his pets. This is a sentence which suggests future tense. Therefore, the usage of shall over here. Shall we dance? Let's dance. Shall we? This is a suggestion as well as a question. Therefore, usage of shall. Let's talk about should now. Should is used to express obligation, advice, probability, conditional surprise, and suggestion. Let's take few example sentences. He knows he should remain faithful if he wants his marriage to last. This is a sentence which shows obligation. Let's do another sentence. You should go back to your husband. This is a sentence which shows suggestion. Let's talk about the next kind of modal verb, that is must and had better. Usage of must. Must is used to express necessity, opinion, obligation, suggestion, insistence, and question. Let's take few examples. I haven't eaten a pear for a long while. I must pluck one from my neighbor's tree. This is a sentence which denotes necessity because I haven't eaten a pear for a long while and that's why I must pluck one from my neighbor's tree. Must is a modal verb over here. Next sentence. Must you visit the toilet so many times? This is a sentence which suggests question. Let's talk about the usage of had better now. As a modal verb, had better does not change its form for tense or person. It does not change its form. And we use it to recommend action or give advice. Let's take few examples. You had better clear up the mess before mum returns. Next sentence. At your age, you had better have regular checkups. This is a advice. Let's learn about the last set of modal verbs, that is ought to and used to. Ought to, the modal verb ought to performs the same function as should. That is, in sentences, ought to can be replaced with should and should can be replaced with ought to. Let's take few example sentences. You ought to be ashamed of yourself for doing what you have done. Here, ought to performs the function, that is, in this sentence, it shows an expected state or a desirable state, that you ought to be ashamed of yourself. That is, it is expected of you to be ashamed of yourself for what you have done. Next sentence, if you have not done anything wrong, you ought not to be so afraid of your boss. Here, we have used the negative form of ought to, that is, ought not to. Let's come to used to. We use used to show a habitual action, that is, something that happens on a regular basis, or something that was true in the past but does not exist anymore, that is, it is no longer true. Let's take few example sentences. She used to have a beautiful shaped body. Here, used to shows that she used to have a beautiful shaped body, but it does not exist anymore. That is, she no longer has a beautiful body. Next sentence. When we were children, we used to go into the woods to pick wild mushrooms. Here, used to functions as a habitual action. That is, when we were kids, we used to go into the wilds to pick up mushrooms. It shows a habitual action that the children used to do when they were kids. So we have learned the different kind of modal verbs and their usage with example sentences. Meet you again in the next class. Hello friends, the topic of discussion today is tenses. What are tenses? Tenses are basically forms of verbs that are used to show the time, continuance or completion of an action. Tenses can be classified into three major kinds: present tense, past tense and future tense. Present tense tells us about something that is happening right now. Past tense tells us something about that has happened in the past. And future tense tells us something that is going to happen in future. Present tense can further be classified into four types: simple present tense, present continuous tense, present perfect tense and present perfect continuous tense. Our past tense is also classified into four types, that is simple past tense, past continuous tense, past perfect tense and past perfect continuous tense. Let's come to future tense, which is also classified into four types: simple future tense, future continuous tense, future perfect tense and future perfect continuous tense. Let's start with simple present tense. Simple present tense is used to show a fact or something that is always true. It is also used to show daily routine for an action that is planned immediately in the future, to express thoughts, feelings, for timetable, schedule, plan, for sports commentaries, for instructions, directions. Let's take few example sentences to understand the usage of simple present tense. First sentence is, a dentist treats people's teeth. This is a fact which is always true. Therefore, usage of simple present tense, treats. The next sentence is, I never work on weekends. It is a sentence which is talking about something that happens on a daily basis. That is, it is talking about a routine. Therefore, usage of simple present tense, work. The match starts in exactly 10 minutes. This is a sentence which talks about an action that is going to take place immediately in future. Therefore, usage of starts. Jill doubts the truth of his statement. This is a sentence which expresses a thought. Therefore, usage of simple present tense, doubt. The zoo is open daily from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. This is the timetable. This sentence denotes timetable. Therefore, is open is a simple present tense. John passes the ball to Johnny. This is commentary. In sports commentaries, simple present tense is used. Therefore, passes is a verb. I declare this pet show open. This is an announcement. So the verb should be in the simple present tense. Declare. Let's talk about present continuous tense. The present continuous tense is used to show about an activity that probably started in the past. We are not sure about the time in the past, but it started for sure in the past and is still going on in the future. For example, I am reading. Am reading is my present continuous verb, and it shows that the process of reading started somewhere in the past. The time is not mentioned, it's not specified, but it will go on in future. That is, it is continuous, it is still going on. How do you form present continuous tense? Present continuous tense is formed by adding the simple present tense of the verb to be, that is am, is, are, plus present participle of the main verb, that is the main verb plus ing. For example, I am eating a pie for lunch. Am eating is my present continuous verb, which shows the present continuous tense, and it can be separated as, am eating is separated as am plus eat plus ing. That is, it is formed by adding am, which is the present tense, simple present tense of the verb to be. Eat is a main verb, plus when I add ing, it becomes the present participle of the main verb. Let's take another example. Jack is teaching at a secondary school. Is teaching is my present continuous verb. Next sentence, pollution is causing global warming. Is causing is my present continuous verb, which is formed by adding is plus the verb, main verb cause, cause, plus ing form of the plus ing, which makes it causing. Let's talk about present perfect tense. The job of a present perfect tense is to join past with the present. That is, it talks about an action that probably started in the past. The time is not specified, but is ending at the present. That is, it is not continued in future like the present continuous tense. For example, Frank has gone. When I say Frank has gone, it denotes that Frank probably died in the past and is no longer with us. Therefore, has gone is a present perfect tense verb. Let's come to now the forming of present perfect tense. It is formed by adding have or has plus past participle of the main verb. For example, he has broken a glass. Has broken, which is a present perfect tense verb, is formed by adding has plus past participle of break, which is broken. Let's do present perfect continuous now. Present perfect continuous is used to show an action that began in the past and is continuing till up to now and may still go on in the future. For example, Cecilia and I have been talking about getting married. That is, the process of talking might have started in the past, it is continuing up till now and is still going on in the future. That's why we have used have been talking, the present perfect continuous tense of the verb. Now, forming of the present perfect continuous tense. It is formed by adding present perfect tense of the verb to be, which is has or have, plus present participle of the main verb, that is the verb plus ing. For example, he has been running. Here, has plus been plus run plus ing makes the present perfect continuous tense. Let's do another example. They have been running. Have is used when our subject is plural. Therefore, have plus been plus run plus ing form of plus ing, which is have been running. Let's do simple past tense now. Simple past tense is used to talk about an action that started in the past and got completed in the past itself. It has no relation with the present. For example, we finished our final exam an hour ago. That is, the examination started in the past and got over in the past itself. It has no relation with the present. Therefore, usage of the past tense, simple past tense of the verb finish, which is finished. Let's take another example. I ate a big pizza for my breakfast. Here, usage of simple past tense is ate. That is, simple past tense of eat, which is ate. Let's talk about the next kind of past tense, that is past continuous tense. Past continuous tense is used to relate an event that started in the past and is still going on. That is, it talks about an action that is incomplete. There are few situations where past continuous tense is used. For example, to express an action that was taking place in the past when a shorter action happened. For example, I was camping when I got stung by a bee. That is, I was camping when I got stung by a bee, which is a shorter action. I got stung by a bee. Was camping, it shows our past continuous tense. Next situation is with while to describe two actions that were going on at the same time. Example is, while my brother was laughing, my sister was crying. Two actions were taking place. The brother was laughing and sister was crying. Another situation is to show that we are in the middle of an action. For example, I was collecting old newspapers. That is, we are in the process of collecting newspapers. We are in the middle of that action. Was collecting shows our present continuous tense. Now, the forming of past continuous tense. It is formed by adding past tense of the verb to be, which is was or were, plus present participle, that is the verb plus ing. Let's take an example. They were eating spaghetti at 8 o'clock last night. Were eating. Were is the past tense of the verb to be plus eat, which is the main verb, plus ing, which makes it the present participle. Let's talk about the next kind of tense, which is past perfect tense. Past perfect tense is used to describe an event that was completed in the past before another event was completed in the past. Through this tense, we can identify which event took place first. For example, they had already finished their dinner when I arrived to join them. In this sentence, the first action that took place was the process of having dinner, and the next action was the arrival. This we know through the usage of past perfect tense. That is, had already finished their dinner. Therefore, the process of having the dinner took place first and the arrival took place later on. Forming past perfect tense. Past perfect tense is formed by joining past tense of the verb to have, which is had, plus past participle of the verb. For example, after I had eaten 5 apples, I fell ill. Had eaten. Had plus past participle of the verb eat, which is eaten. Let's talk about the next kind of past tense, which is past perfect continuous tense. It is used to express an action that occurred over a period of time in the past. For example, he had been playing saxophone in a jazz band. He had been playing is our past perfect continuous tense, and this shows that the process of playing saxophone occurred in the past or over a period of time. Now, the forming of past perfect continuous tense. It is formed by adding past perfect tense of the verb to be, that is had been, plus the present participle. For example, I had been praying. Had been praying. Had been plus pray, which is the main verb, plus ing, which makes it the present participle of pray, praying. Had been praying. Let's discuss the different kinds of future tense. Foremost among them is simple future tense. It is used for an action that will happen in the future. For example, the police will conclude their investigation of the computer fraud next week. That is an action that is going to take place in the near future. Therefore, will conclude becomes a simple future tense. Next sentence is, he thinks his son's team will win the match. Here, it is a prediction. Therefore, usage of will win. That is the simple future tense. The next kind of tense that we are going to discuss is future continuous tense. Future continuous tense is used for denoting an action that lasts for a period of time in the future. For example, his father will be working the whole day tomorrow. In this sentence, the process of working will last for a period of time in the future. Therefore, usage of future continuous tense over here. Will be working denotes future continuous tense. Forming of future continuous tense. How do you form future continuous tense? It is formed by adding the future tense of the verb to be, which is shall or will be, plus the present participle. For example, we shall be jogging. Shall can be replaced with will be also. Therefore, we shall be jogging. Shall plus jogging. Shall is a future tense of the verb to be. Jogging is the present participle of the verb jog. Let's discuss the next kind of tense, that is future perfect tense. Future perfect tense is used to show an activity that will happen in the future and the completion of that activity is specified. That is, the time is specified. For example, I will have saved about $1 million by the year 2090. That is, the action will be completed in future by the year 2090. Will have saved is our future perfect tense. That is, it denotes future perfect tense. Forming of future perfect tense. It is formed by adding simple future tense of the verb to have. That is, will have plus past participle of the main verb. For example, she will have soon the patch on her jeans by 9 o'clock. Will have soon. Will have is the simple future tense of the verb to have plus past participle of the main verb. That is, past participle of the main verb is soon. Let's discuss the last kind of future tense, which is future perfect continuous tense. It is used to indicate the length of time that an action continues in the future. For example, my uncle will have been working in Antarctica for exactly 10 years next Sunday. Here, the future action is working, that is working in future for 10 years. That is an action happening in the future. And this is denoted by the future perfect continuous tense, will have been working. How do you form the future perfect continuous tense? It is formed by adding the future perfect tense of the verb to be, which is shall or will have been, plus a present participle. Let's take an example. We will have been waiting for more than 50 minutes by the time the bus arrives. Here, will have been waiting. Will have been is the future perfect tense of the verb to be plus waiting is the present participle of the main verb wait. Therefore, now we have covered all the types of tenses. Meet you again in the next class. Let's sum up the different kind of tenses. I've picked one example which I'll write in different kind of tenses. For example, I work in a bank. This is in simple present. The verb is work. Next is present continuous. The same sentence is written as I am working in a bank. Next is present perfect tense. I have worked in a bank. Next is present perfect continuous tense. The example would become I have been working in a bank. Let's come to past tense, simple past. I worked in a bank. The verb work becomes worked in simple past. Past continuous, I was working in a bank. Was working is a past continuous tense verb. Past perfect tense, I had worked in a bank. Had worked is a verb. Past perfect continuous tense, I had been working in a bank. Had been working is our past perfect continuous tense verb. Let's come to simple future now. I will work in a bank. The verb work has now become will work. In future continuous, it will become I will be working in a bank. Will be working. Future perfect tense, I will have worked in a bank. It becomes will have worked. Next is future perfect continuous tense. I will have been working in a bank. The verb work becomes will have been working in future perfect continuous tense. So today we have spoken about the different kinds of tenses. Meet you again in the next class. Hello friends, the topic of discussion today is voices. Every verb has two kinds of voice, that is active voice and passive voice. What is active voice? Active voice is the form of a verb where the subject of the verb does the action. For example, cats ate the fish. Here, our subject is cat, the verb is ate, and the fish is our object. Cats is subject, ate is our verb, and the fish is our object. The doer of the action, that is eating, is our subject. Therefore, the voice of the verb is active voice. Let's do the next kind of voice, which is passive voice. Passive voice as the form of a verb where the action is done on the subject. For example, the fish was eaten by cats. Here, the subject is the fish and the verb is was eaten. The action is being performed on the subject, that is, the fish was being eaten. Therefore, the voice of the verb is passive. So, today we have spoken about the active voice and the passive voice. Meet you again in the next class. Hello friends, today's topic is punctuation. Punctuations are used so that reading and writing becomes easier. There are different kinds of punctuation. Foremost among them is full stop or period. It is denoted by a dot. A full stop is placed at the end of a sentence. For example, I like her. This is a sentence. Therefore, a full stop is placed at the end of the sentence. Next is comma, and it is denoted by this symbol. A comma is used to separate words in a list or phrases or clauses. For example, we saw tigers, lions, elephant and zebra in the zoo. We have used comma because we are listing different kind of animals. Next is question mark, and the symbol used for a question mark is this one. A question mark is placed at the end of a sentence to ask a question. For example, what is your name? This is a question. Therefore, we have used a question mark at the end of the sentence. Next is exclamation mark, and the symbol used for an exclamation mark is this. An exclamation mark is used after interjections and commands. For example, hooray, we won. So this is our exclamation mark at the end of the sentence. The next punctuation is colon, and it is represented by the symbol that is two dots placed one below each other. A colon is used before a list and usually after as follows. For example, this box contains the following items: bandages, plasters, lotion, medicines, and a pair of scissors. This is our colon used in the sentence. Next is semicolon, and the symbol used for semicolon is a dot and a comma placed one below each other. A semicolon is used to join two sentences, independent clauses, or a series of items which are closely associated in meaning. For example, he gives up smoking, semicolon. Obviously, he fears contracting one of the smoking related diseases. Here, the semicolon joins clauses. Next is apostrophe, and the symbol used for apostrophe is, it's like a comma but placed above. This shows, apostrophe is used to show the possessiveness of a noun. For example, this is my uncle's pipe. Uncle's pipe, my uncle's pipe. So apostrophe is used to show the possessiveness, and the symbol is used in this way. Let's do the next kind of punctuation. It is hyphen. The symbol of a hyphen is as shown on the board. A hyphen is used to join two words or more to form a compound word. For example, good looking. It joins the two words good and looking. Next word is mother-in-law. It joins the word mother in and law to form the compound word mother-in-law. The next punctuation is quotation marks. A quotation mark is used to show the beginning and end of a reported speech. For example, stop looking at my hair, she said to me. Stop looking at my hair is the reported speech, and it is placed within quotation mark. One point to be remembered is that the quotation, any other punctuation is used within the quotation mark. For example, the full stop is placed soon after the full stop placed soon after the sentence is placed within these quotation marks. So today we have learnt the different kinds of punctuation that are to be used. Meet you again in the next class. Hello friends, today's topic is direct speech and indirect speech. Direct speech and indirect speech are used when you have to narrate or tell something what someone else has said. Let's do direct speech first. Direct speech, which is also known as reported speech. In direct speech, we report the exact words spoken by someone else, and the spoken word is placed within quotation marks. For example, be careful. Keep your eyes open, she said. Here, be careful, keep your eyes open are the words spoken by someone else. Therefore, these are placed within double quotation marks. Let's do indirect speech now. In indirect speech, we do not repeat the exact words spoken by someone else, and the words are not placed within quotation mark, plus the tense also changes. For example, I am homesick, she said. This sentence is in reported speech, that is direct speech, and the tense of the sentence is simple present, shown by am. When I have to write this in indirect speech, then it will be written like, she told me that she was homesick. Here we haven't used the quotation marks and these are not the exact words of the speaker. But it catches the essence of what the speaker was trying to say. Plus, the tense has changed from simple present to simple past. So, we have learned direct speech and indirect speech today. Meet you again in the next class.